Hi there, mate. It's obviously Albie here, and mate, I just want to say thank you so much for the video that you shared with Lawrence, which Lawrence shared with me. And let me just say that absolutely can relate to the challenges that you're having and that you had, especially with trying to build a business where you're at with your work, the frustration, trying to get some traction in this business. What I can tell you is, you know, we've both been through all the same challenges that you've been through. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take you for a little walk down to my backyard, and then we're just going to sit down and have a little chat about all that, and just to, I guess, get a bit more perspective on where you're at. Also, just to let you know that, you know, we started exactly where you're at as well. So let's go for a little walk down the backyard. You can probably hear the chickens in the background. A couple of my chooks laying eggs in the chook pen there. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually walk down to my backyard here, and that's, I don't know whether you can see that. It's actually autumn here in Australia, or fall as they call it in the US, and you can see all the leaves are turning that nice golden colour. And you know what, it was just a few years ago that it was actually my dream to live out here. We'd been eyeing off this area for years and never ever thought we could afford to live out here. And you know, it really is a dream for us to live in this area now. But you know what, it didn't start that way, mate. It was a very, very tough journey. Very tough journey. You may have heard parts of my journey, but you know, I'd have to say probably one of the most significant turning points for me was to change my mindset. And we say it all the time, you hear us say it all the time, you have to change your mindset. You have to change your mindset. But what does it actually take to change your mindset? Well, let me just maybe give you a, just going to go down and sit here on a log, and then we might wander down to the creek in a minute. But let me give you an example of what happened to me. And the reason I'm telling you this is just I want you to be able to relate to something. I want you to be able to know that we understand where you're coming from. It was just a couple of years ago, maybe two years ago, and maybe 2.5 years ago. I was sort of pretty much going through the same frustrations you were. And, you know, we were about $700,000 in debt, and, you know, we had debt collectors knocking on the door every day, phone calls from debt collectors. We had some nasty people turn up on the door, and we had, you know, repossession people coming to our house to take our cars away. You know, we had, on 2 occasions, we had the sheriff and his deputy come through the house and take a stock take of everything we owned in front of my family while I was there. That's a pretty humbling thing for a father to do. And in the midst of all that, I was trying to build an online business, and it just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. But I reached out to Lawrence, and you know, I poured my heart out to him, pretty much like the video you've done. And you know, it was a lot of occasions where, you know, I would just get on the call with Lawrence and I would just uncontrollably weep. I was that desperate. I was that desperate with where I was at. I wasn't getting any traction in the business. You know, I had the wolves at the door. There was no hourly rate that could satisfy the debt that I was in, and my life was just pure misery. And I would just cry and cry. I'd quite often get on a call with Lawrence, and I would just cry. And you know what? I knew that with a couple of clicks of his mouse, he could sort all my problems out, financial problems. And I guess there was a few occasions where I got really, really angry with Lawrence in my heart that he didn't actually do that. And quite often he actually cried the tears with me. You know, we cried together over my situation, and he just kept saying to me, Albie, you know what? Just keep on going. Just keep doing what you're doing. You're on the right track. You've just got to change your mindset. You've got to associate with the right people. There's a big tip for you right there, associating with the right people, because you become like the people you associate with. And I never asked him for the money. because I'll be honest with you, I was too proud to. I was secretly hoping that he would just give me the money and my problems would be sorted out, and that would give me like a year of time to kind of get my business online. Now, fast forward a few years, and I was having this conversation with him just a little while back, and I said, Lawrence, you know what? When I was going through those really tough times and I was crying and hurting because you knew what I was going through, I said, I must admit, you know, I was so angry with you that you never just, you know, with a few clicks of your mouse, just sorted my financial problems out. You knew that would have made a big difference. And he said something at that point, which was a big, big lesson to me. He said, you know what? He said, my heart bled for you. He said, you know, I cried with you and I cried for you and I struggled watching you through that time. And he said to me, but he said, I've learned something in life, and that is when you see a good man down, the old saying is, you know, don't kick a man when he's down. But he said, you know what? When you see a good man down, you kick him, and you kick him till he gets back up. And he said, I knew you had it in you. I knew you had it inside you. He said, I knew it was just going to be a matter of time before you got a bit of traction and got a bit of confidence again and started to talk like a leader and think like a leader. And he said, and I knew that if I gave you the money, I would take away your motivation. If I gave you that money, I would be taking something else away from you. He said, I knew that you needed that motivation, that pain that you were going through, as hard as it was to watch you go through that. He said, I knew that you needed that to get to where you are today. And it was a big lesson to me that it was actually the pain and the hurt was the very best thing that could have ever happened, because we're now in a situation where we have the cash flow to pretty much do anything we want to do and to satisfy. In fact, when I get bills now, the bills that I get, because we pay our bills in advance, the invoices we get are always, we're in credit. We don't owe them any money. And we're in that situation because, number one, we were motivated. Now, there's two things that'll motivate you. That's fear or desire. And the strongest motivation is fear. It's the most negative one, but to be fear motivated is the most single powerful motivation that you can have. It's like me going up to you, Alexander, and grabbing your wife and kids and holding them hostage and pointing a gun at their head and saying, Alexander, if you don't sponsor 10 people in the next 12 hours, you know, your kids and your wife are dead. You would do it because all of a sudden you've got the motivation to do it. Now, here's the magical part of this, is there's a little mechanism in your head, and it's called the fight or flight mechanism. Okay? Now, in a situation, in a hostage situation like that, your fight or flight mechanism would kick in because it's an emergency response in your brain that is only triggered in an emergency situation. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that your creative part of your brain to solve issues is not triggered until an emergency takes place. Now, in my case, I was desperate. I was in a financial situation where I was going to lose. I was going to be out in the streets if I didn't make this business happen. Okay, all of a sudden, the creative part of my brain, the emergency response, the fight or flight mechanism kicked in, and I found solutions to the problems. I mean, I made it happen. I can't even tell you how it happened. I just made it happen. You know, I got all the leads I needed to get. I had mate, I would spend 20 hours a day posting links to my lead capture page everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. Man, I built my list like a man possessed. I mean, I now have a list of just under 30,000 people. And most of that was built during that period, in that really tough period, because I had to do it. I had the motivation. Now, you know, the situation you're in at the moment is probably a good thing. You'll look back upon this and think, you know, that was probably the greatest single thing that ever happened to me, was go through that tough situation. I have to say, when I was going through that tough period, I also had the attitude that, you know what, this is just going to be part of my story. And I was already putting the story together in my head while I was going through the tough times. I was thinking, you know what, one day I'm going to tell this story, and it's going to be a story of victory. It's not going to be a story of victim. And the story was so clear in my head that when I finally got on the other side and made the money that I had thought about so often for so long, that the story was already complete in my head. I had visualized it. And what I want you to do is because you've got so much great information off Lawrence already. I don't want to go over the same stuff because, I mean, he's the greatest coach anyone could have. You know, he's my dearest friend, my best friend. And I want you to do a couple of things. One is, you know what? I want you to keep in touch, and I want you to keep in touch closely. One of the reasons my thinking is where it is today is because I pestered Lawrence. There's an old saying, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. You become like the people you hang around. All of a sudden, the big numbers like $100,000 a month don't become so big anymore. They become normal because of the people you associate with. That conversation becomes normal. And what you need to do is get your mindset to a different state of normal. This is what it's all about, is changing your mindset. You need to rub shoulders with the leaders. You need to be listening to stuff. You need to block out anything that messes up with your mindset. Now, I know when I was driving with trucks, I had to turn my CB off because there was just crap coming through. You know, turn the TV off, turn the news off, turn my Facebook off. You know, it's just anything that would distract my mindset from going in the direction that I wanted it to, because the whole world is competing for your mind space. I needed to shut all those things out. Okay, so that's what you need to do. And you need to start to think like someone who's successful. You already need to have the job done in your head. You need to project yourself to that point. Okay, so I want to keep in touch with you. Remember, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. If you want our attention, then you just absolutely bug me. I'm happy to talk to you. You know I am. And Lawrence obviously is. Man, I can't believe Lawrence made that video and spent that time actually making that video for you, because that guy has got tens of thousands of people in his organisation. He chose to take the time out to do that for you, mate. That is a very, very special thing, and it's a great show of faith of his confidence in your ability. And I also have that confidence. You know that I spoke to you when you first joined up in person, and I already saw the seeds of greatness in you, because you remind us so much of ourselves, and we know where you're coming from. And I can see the eye of the tiger there. There's just a gap between where you are now and the success thing. And it's just a matter of changing that mindset, getting some runs on the board, and projecting yourself in your mind to that point where you're already there in your head, and you're just waiting for time to catch up. All right, so I want you to keep in touch. I want you to, I'm just going to walk down the creek here. I want you to start to think like a leader. I want you to start to act like a leader. I want you to plug into the system 100%. Stop making up your own stuff. Okay, this is the stuff you need to hear, not the stuff you want to hear. I want you to stop all this offline stuff. Okay, just plug into online marketing, because it works. We've made it work. We built a team of over 15,000 people, 100% online. Okay, so you need to be doing that as well. You know, anything that is a distraction. Just got the little creek running. It's a beautiful little spot. Anything that's going to distract you from plugging into the system 100%, get away from it. Get it out of your life, okay? Get rid of all the crap, okay? There's only a couple of things that make money in this business, and that is posting a link to a lead capture page, okay? And building your list and building a relationship with your list, all right? All this other stuff that I've seen you doing, and I've watched you, you know, is not stuff that Lawrence and I do. Okay, I built my entire business on just copying what Lawrence was doing, just copying and pasting every single email, taking it, putting my own flavour to it, sending it off, until I started to have some success of my own, and then I started to develop my own emails and my own following, I guess, and projecting, you know, myself as the leader, and that's what you need to do. Just copy exactly what we're doing. And as Lawrence said, you need to plug yourself into his list, into my list, and a few of the other leaders' lists to see what they're doing, and then just copy what they're doing. Don't reinvent the wheel. Do your own stuff when you start. We've already been through the minefield, and we want to lead you through the minefield. We don't want you stepping on mines and losing your confidence and you know, getting distracted. Okay, so I know you've got the desire. I know you've got the ability. The thing that I've personally observed is that you're doing stuff that we don't actually teach, and you're not plugged into the system fully. And once you do that, I have no doubt you're going to have a great following, because you're a lovable guy. You've got a great personality. You've got the desire. You've got the motivation. You know, you've got that beautiful family of yours. What other motivation do you need? So mate, just get out there and do it. And if you have any questions, you know where to go for the answers, mate. we're here all the time. We're not always accessible 24/7, but you can always leave messages. And you know, we're only ever an email or a Skype away. And you know, I too, like Lawrence, hope to meet you in person. I hope that might be in Dubai at the end of the year when you qualify for the Dubai trip. We're really hoping to take a great team of ours with us there too. So, all right, mate. I hope there's some information there that has helped you. In addition to what Lawrence has said, you know, we are right behind you. We're behind our team. 100%. We're behind, you know, anybody that shows us they've got a great desire and you know, holds their hand out. We're so happy to give them a hand up. And you know, we're here for you. We're behind you. We'll never leave somebody dying on the battlefield that wants to fight. Okie dokie. And we love you too, mate. We really do. We you know, we cannot wait to see your success, because that's how our success is built. All right, you take care, my friend, and we will talk to you very soon. Bye bye.